All right, today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Rolls Rice Meal Prep Service, specialty rice and proteins, weekly soup options. This is a great company. I've known the owner for my whole life. He is just a quality person, great cook. So if you are sick of cooking and you want to get somebody to make you delicious meals that you can have delivered to your house, or you can also do them on pickup, you can find Rolls Rice on Instagram at Rolls Rice YXC. You can just contact them by phone. Send them a text if you want, 306-291-5779. Or you can scan the logo on the screen here, and I think it'll bring you right to their website. I eat them every day. They're delicious. I just had a salmon one today. Big portions, cheap prices. So yeah, go and check out this food if you want to get some delicious food and you want to stay healthy. And we thank Rolls Rice for supporting this episode of the Canadian Talk Podcast. Don't mind the throwing axes and throwing knife in between us.
Oh my god! When I lived in BC, in a cabin, because I used to work pipeline a little bit, and we had this wood. We were renting this wood cabin, and my brother and business partner at the time had throwing axes, and the way the cabin was kind of set up is you would come up the stairs, and then it'd be a big open living room, and then as the first set of stairs, the second set to go to the upstairs is laid directly above. So it goes up like that, and then there's two kind of bedroom spaces up top. But as you walk through on the first floor, it's just open living room, kitchen, and then through an archway was where my bed was, and then my computer was opposite of my bed. So I was usually sitting at my computer, and the landlord probably was livid when he finally realized. We left eventually pretty quickly after 4 months, but they were throwing their throwing knives at the log cabins of that make up the structure.
Oh no.
And they were just doing it over and over, and the thing is they weren't bad at it, but when they were shitty, it was just loud noise. So I'd be sitting at my computer doing whatever, working, and it would just be whatever I can't replicate the noise with my mouth, but just imagine a throwing knife just hitting the ground continuously.
That's so annoying. Sounds like hours. A beautiful cabin for sure.
It was
fucking white privilege right there.
Fuck.
Just kidding. No, I've got a throwing axe range in the backyard right here at this house. I like to. There's nothing. The only thing that makes me feel more powerful than my bow is probably holding a throwing axe or a throwing knife.
You have a bow?
Yeah, I have a compound bow that I fucking love. I've gotten so good at it.
Damn.
Do you shoot compound bows?
No, I had a buddy actually in Chilliwack. He did it all the time, and then would go up hiking with his dog, and then would
just shoot him up.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're here. This is Canadian Talk. It's my podcast. Thank you so much for coming today to the studio.
My pleasure.
So you are the reason you're here is I saw you online making videos at the U of S, which is my university I went to, and I saw the amount of popularity that you were growing so quickly. So by the way, congratulations on all your success. I just want to say that I know that you were on the mainstream news recently. They had you on the news,
CTV, and
the views you pull online are staggering. And not only is it about views though, it's about the content that you create. The content you create is so awesome. A person could go, oh, it's not original because it's just motivational type content, or you use a lot of quotes and stuff.
Right.
But that's not the case. It's original. It's the way you do it with the surroundings. You pick a spot that has something to do with the message. The message is always so clean. You're so good at saying it. So just as an actor, I feel wait a second. Did you take acting or anything?
Currently am. I've taken acting 1, 2, 3 at the university's drama department, and then I was in my first show I ever did was just in February.
Okay.
So that, and then they had the 80th anniversary as well now. So doing that as we speak. And
Makes
then
perfect sense.
I'll be doing a BFA after I finish my
What-
finance degree.
Bachelor of Fine Arts? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've done one show. What was your show that you did?
Translations it was by
Is
Brian
that
Friel.
That's like a play.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
gotcha.
And it's set in Ireland, kind of based around language and what happens when
Yeah.
a colonist country just comes in and changes a bunch of things, and
Yeah.
then.
Are you Irish?
No.
What are you?
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck, you'd hate my views on some of the stuff to do with this war. Then we
listen.
won't get into it. We won't get into it.
Well, the problem I find with politics is
Yeah.
when you discuss views, it tends to alienate a certain percentage of the population. And I don't get me wrong, I've spent time in poli-sci classrooms. I've spent time, unpacking political theory as a whole and how that relates to our world and all the wars that go
That's
on
good.
and whatnot.
Most of the pundits and people out there, they need to do a little bit of studying of the basics of politics before they
it
go
really
making
helps.
these complicated.
It really helps to just sit
the
there
basics.
and sit in a classroom and listen to someone who has spent, a professor who's spent their entire life in political science and get a basic understanding.
Yeah, whenever I talk to somebody about politics, I literally almost always start by asking them like a simple thing. Like, what do you think a liberal is? And like get their takes on things.
Right.
And a lot of times they will make such errors early on in simple questions where that I'll decide I don't want to talk
Right,
with
because
them
it's
about.
redundant.
It's redundant,
yeah.
or I sense if I sense any defensiveness, where sometimes if you watch some of my podcast episodes, sometimes I bring on some people that I don't be that nice to, but if I sense any defensiveness, we got a visitor here.
Hello.
Hopefully she doesn't annoy you. She's cut out of the shot, so
I don't mind.
yeah. In one episode she was jumping all over a guy and I had to put her out. So we'll see what happens here. Oh, dude, you know what? I'll put her out. She's gonna climb all over you.
I don't mind. It's chill. It's a part
I don't want it
it's,
to distract you.
It's part of Canadian talk.
Maybe. You know what? It is. Deal with it. So
Canadian as it can be.
yeah, where were we? Yeah, you know that they say that's the Sphinx cat. It's actually called a Canadian Sphinx cat because you would think, it originated in like Egypt.
Really?
Right? That's what you'd think. See, I told you she likes standing on shoulders.
Absolutely.
You'd think that these cats originated in Egypt, but apparently they started in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it is a Canadian animal. When I picked her to be the mascot for the show, I've specifically
Adorable. Well, she's quite the character, really.
Yeah. If she climbs on you too much, please just throw her away. I'll put her out of the room. So I was just doing your intro, man. You are extremely impressive online. The content you create.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for some time today.
Of course.
On my my little show.
Yeah, I mean, you reached out to me early.
Mm-hmm.
I think when that first video got some traction decently quickly. I never imagined like what it would be like to have a video blow up. And it was I appreciate the fact that you were reaching out early and then you were like March, and I was like, fuck it, I got nothing booked for March.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I usually book the podcast pretty far out. Like in the early days, I couldn't find anybody to come on, and then lately, I'm booked until June.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's been
that's
good.
Cool.
It's been good.
Oh yeah.
But I pull no views. I pull no views, dude. I think I might be investing in a medium or that is outdated. Like a podcast, sure, it's new, but it is a lot like radio, and it's long form, which is clearly not the trend that young people are heading towards nowadays. So, and sure, there's clips. There's AI that can make clips, and clips are great, but also the context. Sometimes on these long forms, this is not designed stand-up comedy. Right. Long form, if you don't watch the whole thing, it's like NASCAR.
Yeah.
If you come in and click onto a NASCAR race, it's like they're just like flying by. You're like, what the fuck's going on here?
Right.
Who's in? But if you watch a NASCAR race right from the beginning,
yeah,
you can invest in the racers. You can watch it, and then the whole thing in context works.
Yes.
And that's part of the problem a little bit with pods, but honestly, man, I'm not gonna give up on it. I'm one of those. I think I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, sure, everyone's journey is different, and I do think long form is harder. I've got 135 subs on YouTube, and I do post mainly all shorts, but at the end of the day, consistency is really all you need. You can have a shitty clip, you can have a shitty like idea, you not know what you're doing, not to say that this is the case, but you can have all these pieces that are just not refined, polished, or put together in the best way possible in comparison to competitors or whatever. But as long as you're more consistent and you stay consistent.
Consistency is key. And by the way, I'll just mention, he's being modest. Maybe he just doesn't do YouTube that much. He has a ton of, I forget the exact number, but you have a ton of followers on TikTok and I believe millions of likes. And that will translate back into the more archaic apps in time. Because again, you're only 25 years old.
Yes.
So, so what is your plan? Because you're doing what you're doing. You're making these videos. They are working. They're resonating with people. They have good message. Is there anything that's next? Like, what's next? By the way, I don't mean to mean that what you're doing right now isn't good enough.
No, of course.
But
I've got, relating back to a little bit of the politics stuff we've talked about. I've wanted to pursue a career towards politics just because I feel that the way in which
you even look like Gavin Newsom.
It's funny. The problem is
maybe just
picking
a little higher, a little closer.
Yeah, picking someone, or picking. Can I actually disconnect it from this?
Yeah, pop it off the thing.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Probably picking. I hate having to pick a political party or a party in which to run. And I know you can just run independent, but then you do lose a lot of that voter base because it's there's more than two parties around here, but it's still kind of two-party based.
It breaks down to it. Yeah.
So
sure.
I definitely have some interest towards that, and
cool.
I do think the way we perceive and filter and organize information, especially about politicians, is wrong.
Yeah.
You're just bombarded by an endless news cycle of headlines, which we have all the information in the world, but no way to actually distill it and understand it. So I think,
if I could just quickly interject, my buddy believes that too. He believes in accountability with politicians, and he thinks that that they need to be kept track of more, and that we need to use AI somehow to parse through it, and then that picks what ends up being news or whatever. He has these ideas about that, but I don't know. My opinion on it is that it's the more dilution is actually an issue. The more you dilute the amount of information that's out there, although it seems like increased accountability because it's more, but it actually dilutes it, and then all of a sudden nobody looks at anything.
Yeah.
Like kind of the issue that's happening with the Epstein files right now is because there's just so much that it's hey, how do we tie anybody down to anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and redactions and everything, and
whatever. Yeah.
The endless cycle of just.
Yeah, and sorry, back to what you were saying about politics. Yeah, you're picking a side, and you were interested potentially one day in going into it. I would say it's a good idea.
Yeah, I definitely think that I just look at that aspect of society as a place that could serve as a massive improvement.
Aren't you worried though, because you seem like a pure soul? Whereas politics, it's one of those games where you have to be dirty. To be good at it, you have to not be a pure soul. That's the problem. Or Andrew Yang would be the president of the United States. So...
Of course.
Yeah. So,
no, it's a cutthroat place, and I'm not necessarily, when you ask me what's next and then I go right into politics.
Yeah.
It's jumping very quickly, and at the end of the day, I'd like a career that is, long, consistent, and also just as pure as possible to just improving society. At the root of all my content, even when I first started, was trying to provide value for others,
to the public. Yeah.
And then also, I struggled. Gosh, sure. You can look at my content journey from January of 2025 is when I was screw it, I'm just going to post every day on TikTok, and that's what I'm going to do. And then I did that for about 2 months of posting every single day, and then I tapered it off to about 4 to 5 videos a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I just try to post.
And that is so much work for people out there. Just so you know, I post 1 video a week, and other times I miss weeks. So the amount of work that takes, on top of you're still in school.
Yes.
That's wild. And just one comment to do with the political thing is some old person might be like, oh, you're getting ahead of yourself wanting to do politics this early. Because in the old days, I think, you had to work at the railway for 20 years and then go into politics and represent your people, because that's how that was the best way you could give back to your community back then.
Right.
Nowadays, I feel like not comedians necessarily, but the president of your country, Ukraine, is a comedian. He used to be a comedian.
Yeah.
But I feel like nowadays in the modern politics, it's almost like you don't have to work for your whole life and then be a politician, because that content creation, that ability to identify that the goal here of politics or of being a person is to help others,
Ideally.
And I don't think you're ahead of yourself by thinking you could hop from your content creation right into politics, especially with the success you're having. It could definitely be something that could happen.
Yeah.
Because nowadays content creation is like an industry.
It is.
So
it is, for sure. And I think at the end of the day, it's, I don't know, you can throw titles on it, and then people can sort of fill in the blanks and be like, oh, this is the path you take. And realistically, the path that will actually unfold ideally is one that no one predicts. In order to actually effectuate change, I think on a big enough scale, you have to be different and unique, and take actions and advance the interest of the public good, so much so that it's actually a little dangerous. And it's something that I think about quite often, and very much want to move step by step, slowly, reserved, smart, than just like flash into a political scene, join some political party, and then try become the youngest cabinet member.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the actual. I think Pierre is actually he holds the record for youngest.
Pierre's, I do like Pierre. It's funny. It's so hard to play the middle these days. It's like people don't allow you to be in the middle anymore. I
People are allowed to have their own interests.
Yeah, I love Pierre. He was just on Trigonometry. That's that British podcast with those two guys.
Okay.
3 days ago, he popped on there and gave a great 1-hour interview. I think he's definitely one of the most well-spoken. But I guess potentially his brashness might get in the way of his success a little bit. I thought he was going to win that last election. I was amazed when he didn't.
Well, I don't know. The Conservatives somehow find a way to blow it.
Yeah, every time, right? Do they just ask the wrong question and get the wrong answer?
The way Trump played into the Canadian election was definitely...
Yeah, people say that caused it, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. And I don't know, where the Conservative Party is at right now, I don't... I wish the best for the NDPs, I wish the best for the Liberals, I wish the best for anyone who's trying to advance the public good and not your own self-interest.
Yeah.
And that is as far as I'll go as in terms of alienating where I sit.
Yeah, and that's perfect, because I don't think you should have to sit anywhere, because you can sit wherever if the goal is the public good, at any given time, where you ought to sit at that moment changes. Because, like, in my opinion, right now, the West needs a little bit of conservatism. With with the new, with suffrage, women are voting now. We're seeing a slant towards liberals winning all the time because women are voting now, and they always vote liberal and this and that. So I think there needs to be
that's not always true. Well, I mean,
I thought that was true.
There's a few. Like, it really depends where you're looking. If you're looking rural Saskatchewan,
the women also vote conservative.
Yeah, there's a few conservative.
Yeah, Saskatchewan's very conservative where we are, for sure. So that won't hold for here. Yeah, you're definitely right there. But anyway, I still do think that the West needs a little bit of conservatism right now. But I wouldn't classify myself as this, that, or the other. But I've always tried to be a centrist. Although, I mean, yesterday I interviewed these two guys that I won't tell you too much about it, but because they're extremists.
Was that uploaded to TikTok?
No, it's not uploaded yet. The episode won't be out for a month and a half, because I've got 7 in the bank that I do one each week. That I'm ahead. I'm like 2 months ahead on recording.
Editing sucks.
Editing sucks.
I do all my editing on a phone, because it's just like I can churn out
a
video. Fuck a computer for editing.
That's wild. That's good though. The turnover's fast. Yeah, I do all mine on the computer.
Yeah, I can. There's a free version of Premiere Pro which Adobe released, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I also hate paying for fucking Adobe.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
I just have a pirated version.
Oh, that works.
Don't arrest me, please.
That works.
So now every podcast I've ever recorded now gets seized by the government because it's illegally edited. I don't know.
Oh God, they have no.
All the money I make off of every podcast, I have to send it over to Adobe
Yeah, it's fine.
because I was illegally using their software.
But yeah, essentially just editing on a phone, I have like an SD card to my lightning adapter, and then I can pull footage that I shot, half an hour ago, and have it uploaded in 25 minutes.
You can do it at school while you're in class. You can multitask.
There's definitely a few of my classmates who see me just like tapping vigorously at my phone. And then
seems like the way to do it.
Yeah.
So I want to do some of the things I do on this show, which is I dig a little deeper. So I'm curious where you got a lot of this ambition that you have, because dude, ambition nowadays is not hard. It's not easy to find. So like, what did you do growing up? Did you play sports, or where did you cultivate this ambition that you have?
Well, I have to give a decent amount of credit to my upbringing and my parents, in the sense of I grew up born in Saskatoon, lived in Meadow Lake, lived in Humboldt, then lived in Regina for a bit.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what I do. Sorry, dude.
No.
Meadow Lake, you say? When I was 21, so this is 12 years ago, I bought a 28-foot Ford Citation motor, RV, from Meadow Lake, and so I went out there. I drove it. I drove it on the way home. I'm driving it, and it just like shuts off. I'm like, what the fuck? And then it turns back on, and I make it all the way back to the city. I get it to the city. I realize that it's got like a structural issue with the back of it where I can't properly plate it. So I'm like, fuck, I got to sell this thing. So while I go to Canadian Tire, because I was trying to get to auto inspection at Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
And I'm in Canadian Tire parking lot, and I have it posted because I bought it for $1,200. 28-foot RV, good deal.
Yeah.
So I have it online for $4,500, and I'm in the parking lot at Canadian Tire, and these two old people come up, and they're like, "Hey, is this the one that's for sale on Kijiji?" I was like, "Yeah."
Shut the hell up.
They buy it on the spot for $4,500. I'm like, "Sweet, I don't have to deal with this RV anymore." Whatever. I'm kind of scamming an old couple, but like,
my investment.
That's capitalism, though. Ethics are shaky around everything. So I'm like, I got the old woman in the car with me, in the RV in the front. The man is in the SUV. We're about to just drive to my house from Canadian Tire, just over there, and they're about to take this thing away. Pulling out of the parking spot at the Canadian Tire, I cut the turn too hard. Little did I know there was a brand new Mustang parked right beside it. The back end of the RV hits this Mustang, flips it over onto its roof.
What?
And I'm just driving away. I see in my rearview mirror, I just flipped a car over. It was kind of noisy, but it didn't make that much noise. I'm like, oh no. I stopped the RV. People are screaming at me in the parking lot. And I'm a good driver, dude. I destroyed this RV, screwed up the sale, and the RV ended up becoming a total loss. And I made $3,000 off of paying the deductible and total lossing the RV anyway. Right. But, dude, I totally screwed up that sale. But those old people that's probably the most exciting day they've had in 2 decades. But the woman was like, she was like, oh no. It was one of the dumbest things to this day that I've ever done. Oh. Yeah. Sorry, you were talking about your upbringing and all of your white privilege. Oh. Continue. No, well, I'm just kidding.
There's plenty of privilege.
Yeah.
Being born in Canada.
Absolutely. Just alone. I mean, have you done much traveling?
A little bit to the States, and then a little bit in South America.
South America. When you go to South America, you realize it's the privilege of being born up here.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about, gosh.
Sorry, I guess I shouldn't say South America. It's like Bahamas.
Oh, you went to an all-inclusive type thing.
Well, no, okay. It was actually a cruise, but then we went and explored the island, so I guess I shouldn't say.
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway, yeah, like you go down there, if you're not at the all-inclusives, I mean, just to give you a sense of it, if you haven't been to these places, because, like, basically, man, when you're in rural South America, it doesn't matter which country you're in, their dollar is worth about 1/50th of ours. That's the straightaway conversion rate. But when you go to the rural areas, their economy there isn't proper. So when you're in the small towns, just like if you're a small town here, you can get a house for $30,000. Yeah. And then a house here, like it's like 10 times that. But anyway, the same thing goes there. So when you're in a small town, there are people that work for their entire life that make as much money as we make in like a couple months. And we want to talk about modern slavery. That's insane. And then like children are running around on the streets. They're not taken care of the same way there. So like you'll be driving down the highway, full speed. There's kids that are on the highway selling bracelets, and they just stand in the road. They get smashed by cars all the time, and it's like it's wild. And like I went there for a wedding for my buddy, and I arrive at the airport. I step out the front door. Number one, I got 20 guys looking at me up and down like they're about to jump me. And then I look across the way, like, you know how you come out the front door at an airport. It's nice. There's a parking lot usually. It's whatever. Yeah. You come out that front door, I see a car on fire beside a tree. Like, this car could catch the tree on fire, too. Just a car on fire is the first thing I see when I walk out of the Guatemala front door of their airport. So it's like, man, those countries are crazy. And, but I mean, what can you do? Yeah. I think that their populace has a lot of negative views towards, like, their political leaders, and it's almost impossible to get a leader over there that they don't think is corrupt. So it becomes hard to set up a government. And anyway, but yeah, back to you. So your upbringing was quite good, and you're given to your parents. And
yeah, and when we moved to Regina, my parents started a business in Regina, and if anyone was around between in the 2010s and was roughly if you were going through your like early late elementary or early high school years, there's a place in Regina called It's a Blast.
Okay.
That was just like an indoor play center.
Oh yeah, I love those places.
Yeah, and that was about 6 years of my childhood, up from about like 8.
Wait, your parents owned a children's like play center? So you had like the best upbringing ever.
About privilege, yes. What
you grew up in Disneyland.
Yes, what came with it was this, this beautiful thing to be a part of. I'd have my birthday parties there. My friends would have their birthday parties there. I would go into the play structure and meet kids, and then they'd say like, "Oh, how like are you gonna leave soon or whatever?" And it's just like, "No, I'm here till the end of the day." Like my parents own the place.
Oh yeah, so it felt like a bit of a purgatory almost.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's a set of memories in my life that my younger sister, for example, she was born in 2009, so she wouldn't have really remembered it or got to experience it to the same level as I did. So it's something that I take with a great deal of gratitude, because to have something like that is a true gift.
Yeah.
But what also paired with that was being introduced to a decent amount of, like, you learn the value of a dollar, and I learned the value of a dollar in a Sarcan bottle deposit line, because all of the bottles from my parents' play center, people would just throw stuff into the bags, and then in order to be efficient at Sarcan, especially when you're dealing with about 25 bags of bottles, juice boxes, and cans, they have to be sorted. So me and my younger brother would go in the back and sort, and you get diapers and garbage and ketchup and just it was ridiculous what people would put in the recycling bin, which made me understand a little bit about why the environment gets so easily screwed up, because at the end of the day sometimes people really just don't care. But really learned how to work hard, what a dollar meant, having your own money, and then going on little vacations or whatever, and my parents were just like, okay, like you can go. Who is spam calling me?
No worries. Yeah, so your parents kind of paid you with the bottle collecting. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then you go to Calgary or whatever, to the Lego store with your own money, and my parents would be like, Lego. Okay, like you can buy whatever you want, but it's your money. And then my dad has the story of that. Me and my younger brother walked out with like 2 small little things, because it was like,
the Lego store's overpriced. Yeah, I would always get my Legos kind of like secondhand.
If you get them from Toys R Us, they sometimes have decent deals.
They had good deals, yeah. And Walmart sometimes.
Yeah.
I used to have a big collection of those things, and I don't know where they went. But I love Legos. So
I buy it now just as an investment. Like I bought a Lego Coliseum for $721 in 2021 when it came out. They retired it. I just sold it for 1,100 or so a few months ago. The return.
So you're flipping Legos.
Oh, dude, the return on Lego, it beats the market. It beats the market every year. Gosh, if you want an easily manageable asset that provides that not only provides a return, but also it doesn't take a lot of actual like financial utility of understanding it and managing it actively. Yeah. You buy it once, you stick it in a closet, and you wait 5 years.
Yeah.
And when you sell it for double, you take your return.
Seems like a better venture than flipping cars. Yeah.
Well, cars take their benefit too, but you got to know what you're buying.
Yeah, for sure.
You really do.
Oh, okay. I actually right now, technically, I play professional hockey. I play in the Saskatchewan Western Hockey League.
Really?
And they pay you, yeah. And I also play semi-professional golf. Like you see that bag out there, like a real tour bag? I found that at a garage sale. It's like $1,000 bag. I got it. I've got a lot of these stories, by the way, because I'm a bargain hunter.
Yeah.
So
there's plenty of deals to be found.
Yeah, I got it for like $100. It was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, I had a big season. I've been golfing for about 22 years, but this last season was a big season for me. I got my first hole-in-one.
Really?
Yeah, and I set the course record. I set a course record at a course for the first time ever. I won my first club championship, all at. It's about 30 minutes west of the city. It's called Purdue Oasis, and yeah, I shot a 64 one day, 8 under, set the course record. The previous course record was 65, which isn't the most amazing course record, but I beat it, and I was like, what the fuck? And I had already just the previous 2 weeks ago won the club championship there with only a 73. I won the club championship, so I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty good at golf, but I've been playing for 22 years, and hockey is also like the same thing as that because I've been playing hockey my whole life. So, but yeah, it's sweet because honestly, I played high level hockey. I almost made the NHL in my late teens, early 20s, really? And then I kind of slowed down, started playing safe hockey because I was working and trying to figure out how to make money in this life, and then in my later 30s now, I'm getting back into like contact hockey, proper hockey with bigger crowds, and it's fun to get back into it, man. Dude. So yeah, what kind of sports did you play growing up?
Basketball mainly.
I always say that those are black people sports. You got to avoid those ones because there's just nowhere to go in those.
Well, yeah, like it never was a question of going professional. It was just like a team sport.
Yeah, when your family owns like little Disneyland places, you don't really worry too much about, hey, I need to make money.
Well, there was plenty. Gosh, there was no stress worrying about where my next meal was coming from growing up.
Bingo.
But there was stress in regards to selling the business. We moved to Saskatoon shortly after that, and then
nice.
I just went through high school. But yeah, of course, plenty of privileges, which I'm very.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one other thing I was going to show you because you've met Gibalt now, so I was going to show you the craziest thing that I've ever heard with a cat. Like, because what the craziest part is not just that she can do this skill, is that she taught herself this skill. So, and she's been doing it ever since, like, she's a year and a half old. She's been doing this for about a year. But the other day, for the first time ever, I caught her in the act. So I have proof now for everybody. I've been telling, no, this cat taught herself how to use a toilet. So she poops and pees in a human toilet. Like you saw, she has a litter box.
But she doesn't. You did know, like, because I know you can do, like,
you do the thing where you put the thing on the thing and you train them and you make the hole bigger and bigger. Yeah. I didn't do any of that. And check this out, dude. I made a funny AI of it too. So I caught her. That's the bathroom that's in there. I caught her. So that's what she does. She crouches on the edge and she pees. And when she poops, she does it different. I made a little AI out of it.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
Wow.
So talk about a smart cat. This cat taught herself. She potty trained herself.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, when she did that, I was like, okay, that's going to lessen the amount I have to empty that litter box. That's good,
No, for sure. That's like the biggest downside, I think.
Yeah.
Of a cat.
Yeah. Okay, so dude, really, I want to get back to you because you create incredible content online, and I want to ask you more questions about it in particular. So to clarify, just so everybody knows, if you want to find him online, it's Auckland, and you're mostly on TikTok. Yeah. And I think if you just look up Auckland, AUCK land, I'm pretty sure you will pop up.
Yeah,
so
unless you'll get the city New Zealand. So
yes, that.
My handle is I am.
Oh yeah, you got to put the I am. That's why I had trouble. Yeah, you know what, man? You might want to like change that. I guess you're too far into it now, but
the guy who has the Auckland Tag on Instagram reached out to me. Very nice guy. He's actually from Australia.
Okay.
But TikTok, I don't know if there's someone who has the Auckland tag, or if it's just not even available because it's a city name.
That's the problem with the branding around that name. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm beat there, and then a lot of the like Auckland N or like things like that. A lot of those are all taken. So I found I'm Auckland, and I was like,
good enough. Yeah.
I mean, I am.
Just
Auckland,
the problem is
so
that I know,
go.
but the problem is the first letter. Will people write in Auk if you don't come up? But maybe you will over time, because it works. It'll work. I think it'll solve itself.
I'm the only one in North America. I'd like to think.
Yeah. The more traffic you get, the more it pops up on the search. Because I think So anyway, to do with the videos you make. So this is what I'm aware of, and then you just tell me exactly what the evolution of all this was like and all that kind of a thing. So you go on campus and you find a place, and I think I'm gonna just talk about the one that's the most popular and I really like the most. You will go, and sometimes you'll just lay in a hallway, sometimes a pretty busy area on campus, because I know the spots, I know the campus pretty well. A busy area, you'll just go and lay on the floor, and then you'll tell a monologue about how anxiety is something you don't need to worry about. People don't care about you that much as you think they do. Look at me here, I'm laying in a hallway, nobody will stop to talk to me. And it's like these super insightful videos that teach people lessons about psychology and about sociology and whatever. So that's what I think you do. But how did this happen? How did you come up with this idea? Because I was mad at myself for not doing it, because I always wanted to make content at the campus, because it seems like such a gold mine. But
it is. There's plenty of good places to choose from, and there's always people around. When I was first making videos, I just had. I kind of think that my style of content now is if you're thinking about going from 0 to 100, it's somewhere in the range of like 70 to 90. It's up there, and it does take a lot out of you to make that content. So when I first started, it was just like talking to my phone videos, relatively comfortable, they're easy. But I just had the vision in my head to shoot with a long lens and have people passing me as I'm just standing there talking to the camera. And I don't know why that was an idea in my head, but I started originally just like filming in the arts tunnel, and it's something that it still is. It creates social anxiety. When I go live on TikTok, I get tons of people just asking like, oh, do you have it? Or like, it seems like you don't. And it's just like, no, anxiety is an emotional response to an environment that you are not comfortable in. And so everyone will come across it, and the environments only increase. I didn't go shoot in Healthside the first time I ever filmed it. I picked like 5 o'clock in the arts tunnel. So it was like, there would be people around, but I didn't pick like noon, like, because I'm still burdened by those feelings of anxiety, but you only get better at managing and dealing with them by flexing that muscle. So when I am filming, it's kind of just, I actually have to credit the 4-Hour Work Week. It's a book by Tim Ferriss, and in there he has a few like challenges throughout the book in terms of like holding eye contact with people and things like that. One of the challenges is relax in public. And in the book, he just says to lay down in a public place.
Oh yeah.
And just lay there. So it's not even like, I can't take credit. The idea wasn't mine. Yeah. But I did, of course, apply it to my content. And as you practice delivering information that I like to think is relatively good, and you deliver that over and over again, thank you. Yeah. You can get really good at just delivering that, and then of course it does take a few tries, but having multiple camera angles, and then making the editing. Yeah,
your stuff is very professional. Like you are very like technically minded. It seems you just came into my studio like an hour ago, right? And we got this new mic that you jerry rigged up to my stand in like a minute.
Well, I mean, problem solving is always a beneficial skill. It really is. I mean, looking at your shop out there, like you're staring at your backyard, like fuck, I have nowhere to work on my car. Yeah. Fuck it, let's build a shop.
Build a building. Yeah, different kinds of things. Yeah, like you said, to do with the anxiety. The environment is fixed. It's all about how you deal with what you're presented with. There's such a spectrum of people with dealing with anxiety in different ways. I don't like that. the way a lot of different terms are being branded nowadays. Like anxiety they brand it negatively almost, and I feel like it's not. It's positive, because
It's
like
natural.
yeah,
You know,
because
it is.
the most talented people I always meet often have a lot of what you'd call anxiety, but you could also not call it anxiety. You could call it angst or like motivation or like whatever. I'm not a lyricist, but like just you could brand it a more positive word of as just something in you that tells you in this environment I need to act, and there will be results. Because like anxiety, like that's why you get anxiety. Let's say if you do a presentation or if you do a podcast, because it's like, hey, this isn't just me sitting in my living room.
Yes.
Something's going on here. That's your body telling you things about your environment that you should listen to, and not just brand as negative and be like, this is I you know what, I should be comfortable all the time and have such a high horse that it's like any anxiety I feel, that's the environment's fault. You know, it's a privilege.
Well, and people will also avoid it. You know, like there's people who will come into the lives and they'll say like I'm just stuck at home, and I think especially in a post kind of COVID world where things became a lot more individually based, we've lost. You know, I think about like growing up rural Saskatchewan or like growing up on my grandparents' farms, and people would just drive into the yard and knock on the door, and there was no like you got to text or call to see if anyone's around. No, you just show up in the yard and you have coffee for an hour and have a social interaction.
I miss that.
Nowadays, I don't even, when I go to hang out with my friends, do you go knock on the door?
If you go to a buddy's house,
here.
Yeah, if you go to a buddy's house and don't text him before you get there, they look at you like you're crazy. Like today, for example, you showed up a little bit early to the pod, and I was like, "Whoa, what are you doing in front of my house?"
Like, shit, I need to go. And it's like, well, fuck, let's go. Yeah. There's so many interactions that we choose to avoid because they elicit a response that isn't comforting. But the only way to get better at dealing with those responses that aren't comforting is facing them head on. That's,
exactly.
And sure, there's a large majority of people who might struggle that, we use the term exposure therapy, and I do disclose this quite often, is that there are some people in which my advice will not help no matter what, because there are actual barriers psychologically that have to be unpacked by someone who has spent a lifetime in psychology, in psychiatry, actually understands the human brain, mental health, qualitative diagnosis. These are things that if someone is actually they come into my live and they say, I'm having like crazy cold sweats and I'm having panic attacks and I'm freaking out. My videos aren't going to help you. They're just not. Like the exposure therapy and pushing yourself, at the end of the day, I am truly an advocate for finding mental health support that helps you. And sure, if exposure therapy blends in and you can transition away and do that, and I always say like an easy one to start for people who struggle with social interactions is just like walk by, give someone a compliment, hold the door open and say have a nice day. These are very low stake. I am not saying go lay on the floor in health sci and film a video and have something to say and upload it to TikTok.
Like the other day I went to the gas station, and I like to not wear jackets when I go outside because I feel like it's training me in like cold exposure. Because like they say shivering is good, like it builds muscle. Right. Like my Sphinx cat, Sphinx cats get very muscular and buff because they're always cold and shivering. So I do that. Anyway, I was at the gas station and I had this positive interaction with this guy. He's like, "Oh, you no jacket, eh? That's tough." He said something nice. He was like, "You're a tougher man than me," or something like that. And I was just like, "That was awesome." And you just get that by going out into the world sometimes. One other thing I wanted to say to do with the anxiety is it's like the thing is that's why the use of substances and stuff is you should be very careful with that kind of thing, because any person I've ever met who has problems regulating emotions and anxiety, I'm not saying that mental health issues aren't things that happen naturally as well, but it's almost always past drug use or current drug use where it messes up that regulation, where they start having anxiety attacks when they're just in their room. Yep. It's almost always heavy drug use that causes it. So yeah, don't do drugs, kids. But and I pray for those people, if I can say that now. I'm not religious, but like lately as I've gotten older, I've started to see the utility in it, the social utility in it a lot more. And not just social utility, like personal function for yourself in helping with managing.
There's a tremendous amount of positive, outcome for someone who can ground themselves and think about others in an empathetic way.
Yeah, and religion can help with that. I mean, secularism has limits to do with the moral guidance it can give. Jordan Peterson always says it. He talks about how the only way we can really remember stuff, it's just built into us, is through stories. That's the only way we can really remember long pockets of important information, lessons, stuff like that. Yeah, so, and what is the Bible? That's what it is, right? It's a bunch of stories. So you end up going.
Quran, these are the best-selling stories of all time.
Ever,
you know?
Exactly.
For sure.
They at one point they were so good they didn't even let people read them because they're like, hey, you'll get too smart if you read this. You know, like way back.
Yeah.
But I mean, are you very religious?
I grew up, you know, Catholic and went through that whole process, and I think I've been lucky because I had a relatively good experience within the church. You know, the first priest I was ever sort of around, Father Steve, was originally Resurrection Parish in Regina. I think he's at Holy Family now. Just a great, like, you know, you'd sit at the front, and the parish was pretty large, and he would, you know, he'd ask for a volunteer, and you know, you'd come up in front of the congregation, and it would do something relating to the lessons. And so, and the problem I have with organized religion sometimes is that it unfortunately, the people who may need it most or want it the most or look to any faith and say, you know, like I see the value, but it's not for me or whatever. Unfortunately, usually those religious congregations push those people away. The people who, you know, might not be negative towards it, but they have their skepticisms. They have their reasons for why they don't go. And instead of just saying, hey, you know, that's okay, you can have those things, we're still here for you. Instead, the opposite happens, and you push those people away more. And so again, even similar to politics and religion groups into the same thing of, you know, alienating people.
Mm-hmm. We're finding through lines. Love it. This is long form.
Of course. There are, unfortunately, I think that it really skips a beat sometimes, and religion can be this huge barrier that doesn't actually include everyone. Which a lot
of people think that it's a segregation mechanism, you know?
And some people treat it as such.
But the problem is like community building is good, but I don't think community building can occur without some amount of exclusionary thing. It's, you know, it's tough. I guess that's tough. It's a reality of it. Just like, hey, like how we talk about the reality of politics with how you got to be kind of a bad guy to win at it. There's realities to do with certain things that you can't avoid. So
the way that things are does not mean that they have to stay that way.
For sure.
You know,
for
and
sure.
It does take a long time to change things. It really does. But I think, gosh, you look at revolutions that have happened. You know, take the French Revolution alone. Like, so much history to unpack within those things. Change is possible with enough pressing, and I think, you know, the world is infinitely a better place when you look to your left and you look to your right and say, I'll take care of you, no matter what your views are, no matter what religion you're a part of, no matter what race, creed, ethnicity, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're just a human being, and gosh, like, can we all just be human beings?
For sure.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah. I have a joke I want to say, but I can't. I just can't say it. I can't say it right now. So, have you ever...
Get clipped on context.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the joke. So, have you thought about, like, getting some... Because I recently just got a sponsor. Like it's only my second one ever, but it's like this food company, and they pre-make these meals. So,
I actually saw that.
Yeah, Rolls Rice.
Yes, Rolls Rice. What a name.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's awesome. So I get like free meals and stuff like that. So have you ever thought about, because you've got so much traffic, have you ever thought about monetization, some sponsors, anything like that?
Just on TikTok recently, they allowed subscriptions, so people can subscribe to me now. I haven't actually built much of the back end in terms of, you know, I'd like to actually provide like either one-on-one calls or some way of actually, you know, working with people who could benefit from pushing their social anxiety, things like that.
Oh, so you kind of want to be like a service in a sense.
Yeah, you know, there's some coaching benefits I think that I could provide. The problem with, you know, I've had plenty of like bullshit companies reach out to me through email.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to work with a company that is actually like real.
Yeah.
You know, and that actually cares about their customers, cares about, you know, a lot of things, like, you know, how they make their stuff. You know, I don't necessarily want to make like this one company called Haku. It's out of the UK. They're just like a Temu, but for like fakes. So instead of buying real, you know, Jordans,
Don't
you
just
can
pick
buy
them
fake.
based on that if they can pay you more. Yeah, that's where you got to like find private sponsorships, maybe people that you know, like around
Right,
and.
And
you
I'd
know,
like to work with
networking.
Saskatoon businesses.
Yeah,
You know, provide
yeah.
value and push.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because gosh, 100,000 followers around Saskatoon is.
That's huge.
It's
That's a third of the damn population. I mean, yeah. So Great Western. I know you haven't sponsored me yet, but at least sponsor him. He's a nice guy. He doesn't talk about race and you know, whatever.
You know, you do have to. I think there's always going to be a certain way that I act around certain topics. You know, like if you bring up a specific politician, I'm never going to, you know, like I'll just like not like tense up, but I'll just pause and give a relatively neutral answer for the benefit of like, because again, no matter where anyone sits, religion, politics, social issues or not, we all have to work together.
Yeah.
And that's like, unfortunately, I don't believe in this push one headline, push this other headline, and just divide it. Division is just a surefire way to make sure nothing gets done.
For sure. And it can be part of the problem with debate, because debate in its nature is one side and the other. But to do with what you were saying, I mean, I do believe that today there is a bit too much animosity towards these people, because at the end of the day, like what you say about how you're not going to comment too much on particular people, I love that, because there's too many people going around hating on civil servants. At the end of the day, sure, they get a little bit of money, they get paid, it's their job for some of them, but like it's like also
they
you can't
enjoy
be
the benefits.
Sure, like maybe a little bit, but again, I think that sometimes there is a level to it where there's too much attacking going on, where it's like these are people too, and they're just trying to represent their constituents.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, constituencies can be different, you know? Like there's that one guy, damn it, I wish I was better at remembering names. He used to be in the military, and he was a policeman, and now he's like a congressman, and he is very brash. And then you put a guy like that in a room with AOC, you're going to have some crazy back and forth. Yeah. You know, they're just very different, and it's because they have to, because the United States is big.
Yeah.
So there's all these different places, and it's supposed to be the beauty of democracy. Yeah.
Different
so,
upbringings, for sure.
Yeah. If I were you, though, I don't know. I this is just my opinion. You know, whatever. But I wouldn't do any coaching. If I were you, I would focus on the content creation and sponsorships like that, where it's like, because man, I imagine being a psychologist would be pretty stressful, and being a coach, personal coach for people, because man, trying to help everybody on a personal level can really be a circular game where it just ends up hurting you.
Right.
And it's like, do you really want that for yourself? No, we want, because like, even if I could use myself for an example, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but like, growing up when I was 25, so 8 years ago, I thought that I wanted to be rich. I thought I wanted to like prove I was a professional athlete, or prove that I can make more money than everybody else because I'm special. And I started doing carpentry, and I started building buildings, and I started doing podcasts, and I realized that all the best things in life that you do don't require any money, and that being rich is not something that you get to through money. Being happy is not something you get to through money. So, you know, sorry, I know this probably sounds really fluffy, but like I really do think that that's the way it is. And what was my point though? My point was that you just need enough money to to live, and then it is kind of up to you to be happy, because there's plenty of things out there. Building with wood, you know, knitting, you know, a million things. Playing pickleball, you know, all these things. You go and do it every day, consistency, and all of a sudden you're happy, you know. And it doesn't take that much money, and people who chase money. But then again, that's where a lot of the animosity comes from. People low down with the people that are higher up, is they hate them because they have all this money, and they think they're evil because they have all this money, and they're kind of right. That's where the left is really right, you know.
Yeah, there's a certain element of, you know, disconnect. I think that capitalism is a great engine that has got us to, you know, reduce overall poverty and you know, have a better society than what was in the past. I do think, unfortunately, there's elements of socialism that are also required to be intertwined with capitalism to provide help for you know, people, and you know, sure, our government does do that, but also providing, gosh, like, it's like, do you have UBI? I don't know, you know, like there's a ton of like, there's so many problems to solve. It is so overbearing, and there's a lot of people to help. And when it comes to the coaching, as you mentioned, sure, you know, I think that it can be extremely taxing to one's own personal mental health to take on the problems of others, but I also think it can be extremely rewarding to not take on someone else's problems, but help them see their problems in a way that, where at least the cumbersomeness, is that a word?
It is.
The cumbersomeness of their problems can be reframed in a different perspective to be easier to manage and deal with and overcome on their own. So, you know, I don't necessarily know what my, like, if I'm pursuing coaching or not, I don't know. You know, I think I have a lot of experience. The only subject I really feel comfortable talking about, that I feel that I'm credible to talk about,
yes, is
social anxiety.
Okay.
And managing that.
Gotcha.
And just because I have the track record, you know, like, I have the stack of content to prove that, like, I'm, you know, I just shot a video in Hillside again the other day where I laid down for like 11 minutes in a singular spot, and then the video ended when someone laid down next to me.
Cool.
It actually turned out to be a guy from my high school.
No way.
Yeah, who came in, so it was like perfect. It was like, thanks, I don't have to lay here for long.
That's awesome.
But I still get, you know, social anxiety in those moments, and it's definitely like a strong feeling that happens. But I also, gosh, I've been trying to make content for like upwards of 5 years, and the main thing that stopped me was social anxiety, because I was worried about what other people thought, the views, people from my high school finding my content. But unfortunately, like, those people won't come and save me. They're not going to show up and like give me any money or take care of me or help me live my life. Not at all. So it's like, okay, the only person that is actually going to save you is yourself. And I knew I had an interest in content creation, and I knew I had an interest in just crushing my social anxiety into zero. And that is safe to say that you know, I still, gosh, if you put me up in a room full of people, I'll still be a bit shaky and still, you know, but I like to think that the person between, you know, when I first started this whole process and where I am now are fundamentally two different people, because I've flexed.
Awesome. So much growth happens in your 20s, hey? It's wild.
Yeah.
I have a lot of social anxiety too. Like I you know, there was a period of my life where I thought the way you had to do this was stand-up comedy. Like you had to do stand-up, and that's where podcasts came in, because you know, and that might be me cheating it. I feel sometimes like I'm cheating it a little bit by not having people in the room with me, but you got to grow anything from the bottom. So
a brick a day.
Brick a day.
That brick is for you. Eventually, you will have a wall.
Tend to the garden you can touch.
Yes.
We're filled with these quips. So, what are some of the coolest experiences that you've had with people coming up to you while you're filming these videos? What are some of the, like, I imagine you've had some good interactions. This is public stuff.
Gosh, when people
do you ever do interviews where you interview people?
I haven't. Not
okay.
Like, well, I've done some, but it's funny. You're in the long form content game, and I'm in the short form, and I actually struggle to produce long form content. You know, I'd like to upload more long form stuff to my YouTube channel, but I just haven't, and mainly it's difficult to create an interview that's engaging and good. And
that's where I like comedy, though, because it can be an underlying through line where you can talk about anything. As long as you're trying to be funny, it makes everything watchable. That's why that's why I shouldn't be holding back some of my jokes that I want to say. As long as you know what, next time I have one, I'm going to say it, but just know that anything I say is not a reflection of him, and I'm going to say some crazy shit, okay? We're there now. We've been talking for an hour, so.
Okay,
yeah. So,
yeah, realistically, I've wanted to break into long form, and I've done like a few kind of interview stuff. I haven't actually used the footage. I still haven't, but I don't know. In terms of the actual like interactions I've captured, it's always crazy when people come up to me and like want to take a photo. It's like, okay, like,
yeah, that's what I keep telling people about this interview. I'm like, this guy's famous. Like I've been saying that to my parents about getting you on the show. I was like, in terms of this city, the amount of popularity that you've grown is unheard of.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I've never, gosh, I don't know how to adjust to it. It's something I'm always grateful for, and I'm just like, of course, I will gladly take a picture with you and, ask you what your name is and have a conversation. To everyone who's ever came up to me, it's been absolutely beautiful. I love the fact that like people will stop and say, hey, I love your videos, or hey, like, good to see what you're doing. And the support, it's funny, we think in our minds when we're first starting these processes or content creation or doing anything that involves putting yourself out there, you assume there's going to be people talking negatively about you.
Yeah.
And there very well might be. In the quiet of their home, amongst their friends, sure, there's people talking shit. But at the end of the day, the public interactions I've had with everyone, all of them, every last one has always been positive. And I'm not meaning to put it out in the universe that like, hey, come start some shit. Like, not at all. But I have to say that literally everyone who's come up to me has been extremely kind and super straightforward. Actually, I just remembered, gosh, there was a piece of content I put out yesterday, and someone asked me to cut themselves from the video, and I think I forgot to do it. I need to double check my content.
Yeah. Cut them out. Yeah.
And maybe I'll just delete the video. But anyway, yeah, sometimes people will come up to me and ask that. And honest to God, like, I've had some feedback on Reddit because there was someone who posted like,
I try to stay off of Reddit.
Reddit's an interesting place. It really is. Like, there's people with some polarizing opinions, which is it's always needed. You gotta, like, if you want to share your opinion, you are free to. It's yours. But a lot of people were saying I was invading other people's privacy, and there was a few odd times where sometimes I am. There is no expectation of privacy in public places, but I shot a video in the packed gym one time, and that was definitely pushing the limit because there's an expectation of privacy there.
Fair enough.
And so,
but it's not just a public place, though. It is a university, and a university has a prerequisite of this is a place where the young people are intermingling, learning, and growing. So there's even a less of an expectation of privacy on the campus, So
you are correct.
Yeah.
I think that it's provided some interactions where people are just like, hey, like, be mindful of what you're doing, and I hear that. And if anyone ever comes up to me and they're just like, hey, I don't want to be in the footage, gladly I will cut you out. Gladly, like, I'm not legally obligated to do so.
Nope.
But from a sense of courtesy, if you don't want to be put on the internet, be my guest.
A man of the people, for sure.
I really want. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, you ask me, like, what's next, what's the future? I want to try, like, gosh, have a career in the public life that is positive, that elicits good social change, that actually creates something that one I can, when I'm on my deathbed, wherever the hell that is, I can look back and think, okay, at least I did something that was decent.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's the goal.
That's so good. I fear that I'm pretty close to my deathbed sometimes. That's why I try to make these long form stuff, because I got to catch as much of myself as I can.
Well, it's also.
I don't think I'm going to live till 50.
Fuck, it's kind of nice to know that when you're gone, there's a part of you that lives on. Visually.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a beautiful part about content creation. Yeah.
And your family can watch it, and then not only could my kids or my grandkids watch it, but like my great grandkids could watch it, because assuming the platform would stay up.
Yep.
Beautiful. These platforms don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I know. YouTube, they just shut down some data centers and then we just disappear. Yeah. That's why I keep everything on my external hard drive, so I have it all in the raw format.
I'm like a serial deleter. After I upload something, all the raw footage goes. Like I don't have the storage.
Especially if you're doing everything on a phone. But there are some of those micro SD cards now that are like 5 terabytes, where you could keep everything. But then the thing is, they mess up. Yeah, but the thing is too with the micro SDs is they break so often that it's like, I don't know if I want to get a $150 micro SD. It's gonna break. I have to replace them all the time because they break.
I don't know if you've seen. Do you know who John Kiriakou is?
No.
He's an ex-CIA guy who's gotten very popular on TikTok in the last little while. He became very mainstream in like 2000 and between 2010 and 2014. He actually went to jail for a few years because the CIA pursued him for revealing classified information. He was opposing the CIA's torture program under the Bush administration, George H.W. Bush.
So that was his motivation for saying stuff he shouldn't have said, but it's a pure motivation. But
yeah,
still,
he went on ABC and was just like, they're torturing people, and was essentially just like, that's not cool. And he never really he never killed anyone, and he was like a good, I think a relatively good guy. But either way, all of his clips from podcasts are now blowing up on TikTok. One, because his stories are very entertaining. I mean, he's talking about
is he kind of old?
Like
old looking?
Bit, yeah.
And he doesn't have much hair.
He's got some.
Got a fluff there. Okay.
He's got gray hair. Yeah.
Okay.
Decent,
I think I remember that one CIA guy. I think I know which guy you're talking about.
Yeah. But either way, like all of his clips and stuff, like his voice gets sped up and slowed down in conjunction with the story, which is just another, like how this relates to what we're talking about. It's another way of grabbing attention.
Exactly.
Of viewership.
Yeah, I had somebody give me that suggestion that, hey, for some of your clips, put them up to 1.25 speed. And they edit it for me. They send it to me. They're like, here. And I'm like, yeah, that is better, actually. Yeah. I kind of agree with you. That's more watchable.
This is him.
Oh, yeah, that's not the guy I was thinking of. Yeah. So, yeah, good story for you. That is... Oh, shit, did I forget it? Hey, let's go do weed. I forget my story. Golfing. Oh, yeah. There was these wedges. I get a lot of my stuff off Facebook Marketplace, and there was these wedges that I really liked. These Vaki is Titleist, a 56 and a 50. And this kid in Regina wanted $250 a club, fair. Brand new, they're $400 a club. So, but I'm chirping him like, that's too much. These are used, even though they're 2 years old. They're not used. And I go, will you take 150? And he wouldn't take 150. So I'm like, okay, I'll come to the course of your choice, and I'll play you for the wedges. And
oh fuck.
And he's like, oh yeah, I'm like a 15 handicap. And then I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm scratch. And he's like, and he still took the really? Competition. So I drive out to this little course near Regina called Katepwa.
Oh yeah.
It's a 9-hole course.
Yeah.
So we played the 9 twice. But he's there. It turns out he works at the golf course. It turns out, and then he brought another guy, this old guy who owns the golf course. So I go there with my camera woman, and she videotapes the whole day. Nice. And it's amazing footage, amazing everything. But I've just been too lazy to like edit it. And I was trying to figure out how to do the shot tracer lines on the ball, and I couldn't figure it out. I thought there would just be an app for it that would be free, but there isn't just a shot tracer app to overlay
I don't know.
onto a thing. So that's why that video hasn't been released yet from last fall, is because it's just laziness, you know? Yeah. But it is a great video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have a bunch of raw footage, it sucks.
Yeah.
Because you just know that there's probably about 10 hours of work before it can actually be produced.
Yeah.
That's why I really take a liking to editing on a phone. One, because it's
they
mobile.
Make it user friendly, probably. Yeah.
That too, and it's just
touch screen.
I'll be walking to where I have to go, and I'll just be editing as I'm walking.
That's hardcore.
I can't do with a computer. Or my desktop at home. You know,
exactly.
I've got a whole fucking custom built PC, 2 monitors, great, really efficient, but slow.
Yeah.
Still slow.
And I just thought of a thing too. Before you go today, I do have an archery range in the backyard. We should get you to shoot my bow.
I would love to.
Yeah, before you leave.
For sure.
That'll be fun.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Rolls-Royce Meal Prep Service, specialty rice and proteins, weekly soup options. This is a great company. I've known the owner for my whole life. He is just a quality person, great cook. So if you are sick of cooking and you want to get somebody to make you delicious meals that you can have delivered to your house, or you can also do them on pickup, you can find Rolls-Royce on Instagram at Rolls-Royce YXC. You can just contact them by phone. Send them a text if you want, 306-291-5779. Or you can scan the logo on the screen here, and I think it'll bring you right to their website. I eat them every day. They're delicious. I just had a salmon one today. Big portions, cheap prices. So yeah, go and check out this food if you want to get some delicious food and you want to stay healthy. And yeah, we thank Rolls-Royce for supporting this episode of the Canadian Talk Podcast. Podcasting is kind of being branded as a right-wing media, sort of. And I think that Google's such a major company that they were trying to not make themselves look too right-wing or anything by having a podcast facilitating a wing of their thing. So Google Podcasts just ended. Yeah, but there's still Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
And then the video versions are on YouTube. And yeah, and they're obviously on the website. So yeah, it's got everything. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you for fucking doing something.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they do the shortcut, where they just, like Riverside is the newest company that does it, where they just they pay a company money and they start a podcast and they just put it on this website, and then the website does all the stuff that I just explained.
Oh, okay.
But you have to pay them, and then at any time, because you're doing it through them, if you stop paying, I don't think you own the shit that you're putting out.
Oh.
So, and I think you want to be careful with making sure that you don't accidentally give ownership of this content to a facilitating app.
Oh,
you know, so
and then they have it all.
They have it all.
Fuck.
So
And then a clip does well.
Yeah.
And then you can't even use it.
Can't even use it.
I know there's a guy. Gosh, originally the YouTube channel was called All Gas No Brakes. Andrew Johnson, I think is his name, out of the States. He covers some pretty wild shit in the United States, like Fur Fest and covered some Antifa rallies and Trump rallies and all that. But
does he do on the street interview type things, or?
Yeah, just at the events with people. And so yeah, All Gas No Brakes was the original channel name, and he was partnered with some media company, and then shit went sideways where he didn't have the rights to everything, and yeah, I feel like I've heard of that name. Yeah, the original channel, he had to let go of completely and all of the good videos, and now it's called Channel 5.
Okay, that was what I thought. It was all coming together. I was about to say, what I'm thinking of is Andrew Callahan on the Channel 5.
Oh, okay, it's Callahan.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so All Gas No Brakes was what he used to call it when he was zooming around in the RV and stuff. Yes, exactly, and now he's independent. That the lesson is there, and I learned that lesson back when he was talking about it back in the day, 4 years ago.
Better to be independent.
For sure, that's the best way to do it, and it's all free. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. I was amazed when I started the podcast, and I was I created my own RSS feed, which is a really simple syndication. So it's like a publication that you create online, and it's free. You just do it, and you attach it to a page on your website, and you just do it, and then And then to give your feed to websites, you need, this is so inside baseball and boring for people, but you need to create what's called a burned feed. So it's like a URL that links to that page and then unlocks the RSS, the syndication, and then it brings it all over. Right. So, and then the little thing, Google does it. It's called Google Feed Burner. And you just go on there and you type in your page's URL and stuff, and then they create a special link that has the right stuff in it, and it's free. You can just go online and Google Feed Burner, and it's a little app on the side of Google, and you can create. It's that easy, and it's so. Yeah, whenever I meet new podcasters, because I've done a lot of these episodes, I try to help them as much as I can, but I don't want to talk about the technical stuff on the podcast. So. Well,
yeah, and I mean, there's so much information to know, and a big part of why I got into content creation was able to be, as successful as I have been in a short period of time is thanks to one guy. His name is Ethan Inman. And,
nice.
And mind you, my girlfriend at the time, Lucy, she was a massive support of just no, you need to make a video today. You said you were going to do this. make your fucking videos. So that's a big
It's a
thing.
good
when you're
woman.
like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
hard to hear that it's
Oh,
not. It's still
well,
a thing,
'cause
but
fuck, so
it's
many-
tough with ladies. It's tough with ladies.
Well,
Yeah.
some chicks wouldn't provide any support whatsoever.
Exactly.
You know, or they
Yeah.
think like, oh, you're a fucking loser.
Yeah,
for doing this.
I've been with both. I've been with both types.
Of course.
Yeah.
But Ethan, he's out of PA originally. He lives in Saskatoon now, but he started making snowboarding content when he was in high school. And
Cool.
So he went through the whole process of like everyone thinking he's a loser for making content, and then his stuff started getting traction, and you know he built his stuff up to like 84,000 followers on TikTok and 30,000 subs on YouTube.
Nice.
And all like, gosh, any question I ever had, and like anything about cameras, anything about like editing, or you know, should I tag the location in, you know, my post, like I credit him so much because every question he had an answer, and it's the right answer. And he would even call things like this, like when I had my first video do really well, the health side laying down video, he was like, you got your initial bump of views, it reached like 11 million, and he's like, and TikTok will always push it out some more, wait, because the views dropped to like 0, and it was like gaining like 5k views a day, and he was like, just wait, TikTok always does this, there'll be a break, and then it'll push it out again and give you a second burn. And now, literally
Wow.
like 2 weeks later, it did exactly that. And I'm just like, guy, like,
Yeah.
you know it all. So
Yeah.
my advice to anyone who's trying to like break into a specific industry, go find those people who already know the industry.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, shout out to Ethan. Thank you. That's
Ethan
fucking
Inman.
pretty awesome, Ethan.
A legend.
Yeah, legend of the game, hey.
Mm-hmm.